Okay, welcome everyone. I have Tom Wren here with me. Tom joined the bootcamp a little while ago, and I wanted to have him, and I'm actually really excited to have him on board here so he can tell you about his experience. So, Tom, welcome, man.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about your business? So, like, very high level, who do you work with? What's the problem you solve, and what's your offer?
Yeah, good question. So it's taken me a while to get to this point, but I'm a sales coach. So I work one to one with B2B salespeople, SaaS salespeople. I very much niche it down, and basically the problem. You and I have been in sales, and anyone in sales will resonate with this. The problem of feast or famine. So good quarters, bad quarters. Some days we're fully in the game, other days we're really out of it, and it's that mindset part and the actions and the results are inconsistent. So I work with reps on a one-to-one basis. I help them to overcome this, to get to the point where they're winning consistently and to stay at it for the rest of their career. So yeah, that's really the kind of space that I'm in. As I say, SaaS salespeople, and yeah, I'm loving it. It's going great.
Awesome. So, before joining the boot camp, because like that sounds amazing right now, but I know there was quite a bit of a journey to get there, right? So what was going on in your life before joining the boot camp, and what made you decided to join? I guess we'll start there.
Yeah, it's been a journey. So just by way of brief background, so I've got about 10 years of sales experience myself. So I was my client once. I had the same wins, the same successes as they do, the same challenges, the same pains as they do as well. So, before I embarked on my own journey as a coach, as a consultant, I had to go through it all myself, and I learned from all of that as well. I learned the hard way, I'd say. So, if we go back a few months, sort of the end of 2019. I was just getting ready to go off on my own as a coach, full of excitement because I had some early results in some informal work with people. But actually, what I found is that I kind of looked at it and I thought, I'm used to selling other people's services and products, which is, it's not easy, but I'm used to doing it. I've had great success, made millions, or helped make millions in my time, and now selling myself. Where do I start? So much of this sort of self-doubt creeping in, like, can I really do this type of thing? So that was kind of the position I'm in. I began at the end of 2019, and I had tried various things. I had started reading coaching books. I probably listened to far too many YouTube videos from so-called gurus and all the rest of it, like we do. And yeah, I basically was at a point where before I found you, where I just felt overwhelmed with stuff. And there was also a frustration as well. I knew I strongly believed in my ability. I knew I would work hard to make it happen. I just couldn't book calls. I just couldn't, get my message out there. I felt fake, even though I knew I wasn't being inauthentic. I just felt like I couldn't get that initial message right. I wasn't sure on my offer and all of that sort of stuff. And yeah, as I say, a few months went by, so minimal success, a lot of the frustration and pain. And yeah, someone in one of the groups that we're on together said, "Oh, Patrick's your man. You need to have a chat." So it was a long journey to get to that point. As I say, a lot of fear, a lot of frustration, a lot of pain, and yeah, and I'm obviously glad that we got to that point a few months back.
That's awesome. And I feel like you're not alone. Like I certainly felt the same way. And it's funny, even though I have, the master's degree in corporate strategy and the experience in sales just like you, and I felt like I've had gone through all of it, but we have these doubts that creep in when we start, like, oh, am I going to be able to make it on my own? So I can
Yeah.
totally relate with you. So, okay. So you joined the boot camp. The very first thing we do, like when people join the boot camp, is help you guys figure out what I call the business foundation, right? So figure out the niche, figure out like what's the burning problem out there in the market, and then kind of like attach a solid offer to it and come up with the pricing. So can you walk us through like this first stage of you being in a boot camp? Like how did that go for you?
Yeah, so I'm thinking back. I mean, like I say, I came in with this energy, but it was going in all different directions. And you know, I told you very very early on, I was feeling burnt out myself. So I had so many questions, and many of them I don't need to answer. I now realize I was trying to answer every one, but it was that first bit when I joined the boot camp and I was seeing others that are successful, and I just thought, you know, these guys can do it. You know, why can't I? And being part of that community, first of all, I just felt the benefits of it. Obviously, seeing you do it yourself, we're from a similar background, so seeing you go through that with you being very open about your own challenges at the start as well. And I guess the first thing I picked up from all of that is, you know, the position I was in, the position of that fear and frustration was normal. And I guess it is for most people. And like I say, you know, we're not unique in feeling alone and all the rest of it at times as well. So that was maybe the first big thing. But before I even started with the program itself, just to, you know, just to be around people that have been through that and come out the other side, and to understand for myself that it was part of the process, but it was one that I could sort of begin to overcome. And I knew I was in the right place very early on. So, you know, your point on the business models and the fundamentals of it as well. Again, a salesperson, I'm obviously used to business development, and actually what I coach my clients on, one of the biggest things is the fundamentals. You know, it really can be as simple as you know, just getting your messaging right and being consistent every day. It doesn't need to be rocket science. And I think I fell into that trap myself. Like I say, I felt vulnerable at the start. I was looking for things to not necessarily shortcut, but things that would help me quickly, because I felt the need to, you know, to validate a lot of that. So it was just getting back to that point, understanding from yourself very clearly, you know, the kind of the fundamentals to all of this, the business models. I had an idea in my head what a coach was. I didn't in truth know between a coach, a consultant, a trainer. You know, they're all kind of the same thing for me. And I guess if I didn't know, and I look back now on my initial sales calls, if I didn't know, which was, you know, largely true to the time, you know, what were my clients thinking? And yeah, like I say, immediately just coming into that, feeling a lot better by default from being there with the others, and then the initial, you know, parts of your program just put my mind at ease, and really for me to, I guess, feel like a business as opposed to, you know, a freelancer that was kind of running around in the dark trying to find a door that I couldn't quite find.
That's awesome. So, what would you say was maybe one of the big aha moments you've had when working at that specific stage of the program? So maybe it was with the niche, or maybe it was with your offer, something where you were like, "Oh, like I thought this is where I should have been, but like no, like I like you had to basically kind of like cross some sort of chasm." So, do you remember any of those insights?
Yeah, and the biggest one, and it's the one that I still go back to for myself. It's a never-ending exercise. It's, you know, we're both from sales backgrounds, and anyone who's in business, I guess, is in sales as well, whether they see it that way or not. But I guess the biggest thing, and it was the one that I admittedly overlooked at the start, was, you know, really understanding the customer. I thought I know I've been there myself. You know, I know my former colleagues have struggled with things that I can help them with, and that was all well and good. But what I didn't think about, and you really guided me with this with your exercises and your coaching and so on as well, is that instead of me trying to deliver the perfect message to that group, I knew the niche, I knew the demographics of them, you know, where they're based, where they work, and stuff like that. And I had a good idea of the challenges they were going through because, like I said, I'd been there myself. But what I was overlooking, and like I say, I still come back to this now if ever I feel slightly disconnected or you know, not on top form, which admittedly is rare now. I will go back to it. And it's just that, you know, the work around truly understanding my customer. And the beauty is once I truly understood them, and, you know, what keeps them awake at night, what is it they truly desire. You know, everyone thinks a salesperson, their only concern is earning more money. And to a degree that might be true for a small proportion, but going through that work and then testing on sales calls, asking questions, and trying to answer that question rather than trying to, make my product out to be the best in the world, actually truly understand what they need, what they were suffering from. That shift, that aha moment for me, which I say keeps coming back. I wish I had that for my own sales career, let's say, and I would have been even more successful, uh, as with most people. But that one alone has been huge for me. You've brought me back to it whenever I've come back and come to you, and you've always challenged me on that as well. Uh, the go get it, Tom. The motivation is great, but it's the challenging as well. If I came with a problem and not an ideal solution, you would challenge me on that. And as I say, I think that's probably the biggest one at the start of it. As I said, the other parts as well, early on, just truly understanding how I can operate as a business rather than just a freelancer, how I can get away from selling my time, and building something that compounds. And again, I'm at that point where I'm really excited about my future. I didn't really have the kind of vision at the start because I felt like I was drowning to a large extent. And just understanding what's possible, understanding how I can structure it for myself as well. All of that has sort of come together, and as I say, it's continually building. I go back to it, but there were many parts, and I could go on forever actually about those early stages and how I was transitioning.
That's amazing. And what strikes me here is when you say that you went from like this freelancer, or seeing yourself as a freelancer at the very least, and it sounds like you've transitioned into becoming yes, you're a coach, but you're a business owner, and you seem to have now like a clear path as to how you can scale your business, and that's a pretty big shift right there, right?
Yeah, for sure. And again, I personally, I don't like the term freelancer, or I don't want that for myself. And I even get to the point where if someone describes themselves as a small business owner, I wouldn't say that for myself. I feel like I'm kind of limiting myself, but that's how I felt at the start. I just thought, I was doing the maths in my head, and I thought, if I need X amount of clients, I need to charge them this much, and so on, and I need to obviously provide value to that degree. And it wasn't quite adding up in my head to the point where I thought, I can really grow this. How am I going to serve the number of people that I would love to serve? And yeah, before I enrolled with you, that they were questions that, and they were also, I'd say, actually, impacting on my why. Why am I doing this? Because I'm not quite going to reach the amounts of people. Am I really going to have an impact? Like, say, as a salesperson, obviously I care about money, but I also care about much more than that. The fulfillment of it, the enjoyment of it. I feel great when I see a customer tells me they've won it. I feel like I've won the deal with them as well. They get all the commission. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. I'm just really happy to see that they are growing as well. And yeah, and it was, for me, it was that shift very early on, that belief, the seeing with my own eyes, like I say, with other people in the group as well, with your own success, and the exercises you set for me that would, it kind of forced me to take a step back, take my emotion out of it, and look at the bigger picture. And as I say, I'm now at the point where I'm growing my business rapidly in terms of revenue. More importantly to me is the number of people I'm serving, the results that I'm getting. As I said just before this call, recorded a testimonial that the salesperson I worked with has told me, 10x the value of what I've been doing together with him as well. And that's what it's all about. And I finally feel that part where, I'm not limited right now by the number of hours as a kind of freelancer. I'm a business owner, and I serve my niche, and I feel great about that.
That's freaking amazing. Love it. Yeah, we should always strive to go for 10x, right, for our clients, right? You're charging
Sure.
$1, they're getting $10 out of it, if not more. And that's amazing. And that's what gives us like a lot of the confidence, I guess, as coaches or consultants. Let's move on to the client acquisition part of it, like the fun part of it, right? So what was your process, I guess, before joining the bootcamp? Like, how were you trying to get some clients, and
Mm.
and how did you progress, I guess, with the help of the bootcamp? Like where are you now? Like, how are you doing it now?
Yeah. So I would describe my I guess what I was doing at the start. I wouldn't say it was highly unsuccessful, because I did pick up a client before I started working with you. But I look back now, and it was highly sporadic. I felt like I was putting in the work. It wasn't really a case of not putting in the hours, but
Mm.
I wasn't really getting the results. I did pick up literally my first sales call. I felt like I kind of lucked out at the time, and I just couldn't repeat the process. I just thought, how did I sign that first client? So for me, uh, we've spoken about this. I've been through a couple of other programs out there as well, and many good parts of them. But one of the big things that was missing for me, and something I picked up very quickly on this program is at least in my space, is the power of LinkedIn. I always knew as a salesperson what it could be used for. I knew that you could find the right people on there and understand them, and obviously research them before a call. What I didn't understand, and it was part mechanical and part the kind of psychological aspect, was how do I reach out to people without pestering them? How do I reach out to people and kind of add value? How do I build my own presence on LinkedIn? I have 10 years of sales experience, and I've always sort of strived to grow myself, but um, I've no idea how I kind of position myself. How do I sort of stand out from the infinite number of sales trainers and coaches out there as well? How do I really sort of dial it down to who I want to serve, and how I best serve them as well? So it was all kind of coming together as soon as I joined the boot camp with you, and my client acquisition strategy. I would say I mean I do. It's kind of funny to say on the call. I do far less in terms of the hours and the effort I put into it now, but my results are vastly greater. And to me, that's the measure of success. I don't want to be spending 8 hours every day focused on client acquisition strategies and booking calls and stuff. I want to keep that as minimal as possible, as long as the results are coming in, keeping the fundamentals, because I want to be serving my niche. I want to be spending more time speak with my niche, building stuff to help them, and so on as well. So what does it look like now since we've gone through all of that? I would say between 1 and 2 hours per day, um, and I keep it most days, and we've begun to automate a lot of stuff as well. And I'm really building myself out on LinkedIn as an authority in my space. I love what I do. I'm connecting with people. You've taught me how to do that in a way that's genuine. I'm not pushing stuff. I don't feel like that in the slightest. I get comments from people that I'm not even connected with to say, I really love how you presented this or whatever else. And they were the things that I kind of shied away from at the start, because I just didn't know how, and I had it myself that I wasn't sure. So yeah, you've challenged me. You've kind of guided me with that. You've shown me the I guess the tools or the mechanical parts of it, as far as how to do it effectively, because it was just draining my energy. And as I say, I've really narrowed it down. I spend 1 to 2 hours per day, max, and some days admittedly less. My sort of pipeline is pretty good. It's growing all the time. I will reach a point, and this is a great point to be at, where I have too much demand for my setup as it is. I
Mm.
don't think that day is too far away, and yeah, that they're kind of maybe later in this conversation, they're the next steps for me. How do I scale this? How do I better serve the niche already? And the client strategy acquisition, the other way around, has been so powerful for me. And yeah, as I say, I feel like I'm mastering LinkedIn, which is very much where my niche live. I've automated as much of it as possible without kind of losing the value and all of that as well. And yeah, I'm very excited. It's great. It's a great feeling to uh, to log in the morning and see that overnight someone has booked in a sales call, someone that I've maybe sent a short message that really resonates with them, one that I've tested and you've helped me improve over time as well. They booked in a call. They have a problem that I can solve, and we have a call, and we really have a great conversation, and then we go on to do great work together. And for me, you know, to be at that point now where that happens consistently, compared to say 4 or 5 months ago, or less even, where I was frustrated and I couldn't reach my niche. I didn't feel authentic, and I just felt like my energy was being wasted in too many directions.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's funny because sometimes, and I'm sure you're even feeling it, it becomes easy to kind of like forget about all the good that we bring to our clients. So thank you so much for reminding me of those things. Let's talk about results now. I guess like this could be the final topic here. What have the results been like for you? What have been like, maybe you can tell us about the return on your investment. So like how profitable has it been for you since, you invested inside the bootcamp?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll share with some results with you. So in the last, I was trying to work out before this guy. I think it's the last 13 or 14 days, less than the last 10 working days. I've signed 3 new clients, which is
Amazing.
a big return for me. And these are long-term clients, 3 months minimum, 12 months, maybe even longer. Everything I do is kind of long-term success with my clients, and we build those relationships. So it's almost hard to say how the kind of return on investment of your boot camp and my involvement with it. And I think that's because, the total ROI, which I'm sure will be 10x if not more over time, is going to be uh, yeah, I mean, if the last 10 days are anything to go by, the last 10 working days, then it's going to be that 10x if not more. And I think I'm at the stage now where my trajectory is kind of a very a very diagonal line in the right direction at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. And as I say, you know, some of the other things I picked up, which I know weren't a key part of it, but were inevitable. And it's even just observing how you work and so on as well, and how you constantly improve the boot camp. It's not obviously static, and the way you coach me and the others as well. My results with my clients are also getting better, and obviously that's partly me working with them as well. But it's a lot of what I've taken from you and others as well from the group, and that's highly effective. So as I say, for me, the kind of the dollar pound return for me has already paid for itself several times over. I can see that even in the next 6 months, 1 year, going well into the 10x and so on, and then beyond that as well. Then it's a different story. It could be huge. So yeah, it's been very powerful for me. I'm very glad I did invest into it as well. And yeah, as I say, I keep saying this. I'm really excited for the future. I feel like I'm now equipped to kind of fuel and to realize my ambition with all of that, which has continued to grow since we've worked together as well. And the best thing about it, and obviously this relates to results for me at the end of it, is yeah, I'm really serving my clients. I'm really happy with all of that. That's getting better. And obviously my business, and I'll be hiring people soon as well, has continued to grow. And they're the results that I care about most. So it's all really come together. And yeah, I look forward to the future with it.
That's amazing. I love it. I love to, like, when you say that now your trajectory is a diagonal going in the right direction. Like this is freaking fun. This is really nice. The next step for you will be to turn that diagonal into a hockey stick, right? Because you're from the SaaS world, so you know exactly what that is.
For
Cool.
sure.
So let's finish off with maybe, like, do you have what would be a piece of advice you could give to anyone who is where you were not so long ago, like right before you joined the boot camp, right? So if there's one or two pieces of advice that you could share with these people to help them out, what would it be?
Yeah. So I go back to where I was, and I like I say that frustration, that kind of pain. Um, I you and I know people that have done this alone, and anyone watching this, you probably can do it alone. You can probably build, as I say, a small business, a freelancing business on your own, coaching, consultant, or whatever else. And like I say, I did sign a client myself before I joined this, but I had to decide for myself: can I live on my savings, which I was in the fortunate position, and that know many people are not. Can I live on my savings? And being honest, my reducing sort of self pride and confidence, which was deteriorating every day because I wasn't getting the results. Can I live on that for much longer? Or do I need to do something? And as I say, I've been on a couple of other courses before in this sort of space. They've given me some direction, but I was just missing too many parts of it, and it certainly wasn't fueling the point where I'm at now. So I guess if you're watching this and you're in a similar situation to me, where, at least for my situation, leaving the corporate world, um, feeling like my personality and my value, and desperate to help others, I felt really trapped, inauthentic, And I just kept saying, I said it to myself and to other people, that kind of, if only I just had, one client I could kind of, prove what I'm doing and stuff. So I guess if you're in that situation, or you had one client like I did, and obviously you're looking to scale that, then yeah, it's a very worthy investment. It's paid off many times already for me. As I say, that will continue in the future. Um, and for me, I did sign up quite quickly. We had a conversation. I saw your content. I could tell that you were, really the authority in this space, especially with LinkedIn, especially with B2B, and I know beyond that as well. And for me, I was questioning myself. I guess the biggest holdback, everything seemed fair. The offer seemed fair, and the return on investment, seemed fair to me as well. And I guess for me, I was holding back from pulling the trigger because I had that self doubt, and I just thought, can I invest in this? And I did have to sleep on it, and I came back to you, and we had that conversation, a very sort of frank one. And I came back full of energy, and I just said, if I come into this, I've got to go all in. And I committed there and then. And yeah, as I say, when I pulled the trigger, as soon as I'd done it, I knew it was the right decision. So I guess if you're in that situation, you're feeling doubtful like I was, I guess it's totally normal. And for me, and maybe for anyone else that's watching, I asked myself, how long can I stay like this? Because it was too long for me in between leaving my job and getting to a point where I was starting to be more consistent. And yeah, that pain was worse than kind of the minimal success I was getting. So I pulled the trigger. It was the right thing to do. The only time I look back is on a call like this with you, and it's good to reflect back and just to see how far things have changed in a very short space of time as well.
That's amazing. So I love when you say, you went to bed and you decided to commit to your own success. Like before saying yes to joining the bootcamp, you knew that you would do everything that you needed to, and that's ultimately why you were successful. So I think that's an amazing piece of advice for people. Like don't invest if you're not fully committed to making this work, essentially.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, and I just add on that. I say the same to my clients as well, and it's your setup is the same as any other great setup, in that if someone is sort of half-hearted, they will get some success. That it'd have to be an idiot not to understand what you've put together here, and to gain some benefit. You would have to kind of reject everything in there, and I don't think that's very wise. Like I say, from the results that I saw other people getting, I just thought I need some of this for myself. I'll kind of trust in the process, even if you challenge me, which was good, and so on. And I said the same to my clients. If you're not committed, then you can almost guarantee that you're not going to see that success. But like I say, for me, the pain was getting there. The kind of risk was too high. We had the conversations. I saw the results you're getting with others. The potential rewards were overwhelming for me, and it was just that kind of scale tipped so much. And I just thought, if I really commit here, then I'm going to make it work. I say the same to my clients, and my clients get massive results as well. And that commitment part is so big. And yeah, like I say, if you commit here with your program, as I've seen others and for myself, it really pays off.
I love it. Tom, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. This was an amazing conversation. I really enjoyed it. I learned some stuff from your journey as well. So that was very worthwhile for me as well. And I guess I'll see you back on Slack, right? So we're gonna see each other on Slack. You're gonna send me your month of June numbers. I want to see those numbers, brother.
You're chasing me, and fair play. Yeah, absolutely. I've enjoyed it too. And again, thanks for everything, Pat.
You're welcome.